I'm going to let you go off on this. I don't know anyone who saw this. Rikishi went on his podcast today and claimed for WWE writers to be fired after taking the title off of Jey Uso, saying that they had 51 days to do something and they did nothing. And he's claiming that they should be fired. This is getting out of hand. This is ridiculous. Calling for WWE writers to be fired because Jey Uso lost. Like, I just see the longer. I just see the light at the end of the tunnel of this, and it's not with Jey Uso having the title. It served its purpose. It was a feel-good moment at WrestleMania this year. It just wasn't it. It just wasn't it. And I think the WWE writers are doing a fine job. It probably makes their job a lot easier now that Jey Uso isn't champion.
Well, and that's what I said from the beginning, that if he was going to beat Gunther at Mania, that was the story. It's just same thing of what happened with Sami Zayn last year at Mania. The story was he can't beat Gunther. He beat Gunther for the IC title, and then they did nothing with him, really. It's like, yeah, because the end of the story was winning. That's why they didn't have anything after that. I agree with, the point of that Rikishi made about the writers and stuff, that they need to have more plans in place when they do make somebody a champion or whatever like that. Yeah, that is completely fair. However, I don't like when people pick and choose when this kind of thing matters, because we're talking about Jey Uso losing to Gunther. Why didn't you complain about Gunther's 8-month title run as World Heavyweight Champion and the fact that he had 2 feuds? Why are we not complaining about that? Like, you're not complaining that he only faced Damian Priest and Jey Uso. No one said shit then, but we're going to complain because of a 51-day reign and he didn't really feud with anyone. Like, that's worthy of complaining. That's why I'm saying, like, you need to be consistent with your complaints. It can't just be when your guy it doesn't get to do what you want him to do. No, everyone talked about Gunther's World Heavyweight title reign being bad, and it wasn't because he's bad, although there are some people out there that feel that way. And they're wrong. But the reason why it was bad was because they did nothing with him. They didn't have him feud with anyone other than Damian Priest, because that's who he beat for the title. And they had him beefing with Jey after he won the Rumble. He was champion from August till April. And that's it. He didn't feud with Punk. He didn't feud with Seth Rollins. He didn't feud with Drew McIntyre, Sheamus. Like, there was nobody there. Like, if that's the kind of stuff that genuinely bothers you and you want, and that's your complaint about the WWE writers, complain about it every single time that it happens to somebody. Do not only complain about it when it's your guy, because that's ridiculous, because then you look biased. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Jey didn't have super long title run, and we're kind of becoming accustomed to that. And I do think that we need to remember that, like, not every title run has to be long. Even it, although I said also from the beginning that I didn't want Jey to have a super short run, and I feel like this was a little short, but whatever.
That's what is a short? Like, where do you cut it off at being too short?
I don't know, because I feel like it's hard, because I feel like people want to dissect title reigns every time they start and every time that they end. And then they have this idea in mind about what is too long and what is too short. And that's going to differ depending on the person that you're talking to. But I would like to get to a point where their title runs were good enough because they had good matches and good feuds and storylines or whatever, that even if it was only 2 weeks, and that sucks if it is only 2 weeks and you don't want to see hot potato titles, that even if it was only 2 weeks, the matches and whatever they did in those 2 weeks were so good that you're like, you know what? It's actually okay that they were only
it makes it worth
for 2 weeks, and so that's the thing, is like, oh, well, Gunther's been champion for 85% of his career in WWE. Yeah, but he just had a World Heavyweight title run for 8 months and it was shit because they did nothing with him. So you can't complain, in my opinion, about what happened with Jey if you didn't also complain about what they did to Gunther, because it's the same thing, just like 8 times longer, So that's with, like, Rikishi. I get it. Like, he's your son, so you're going to complain about it, but also you look kind of silly when you're complaining about these things, but you're not saying it when it happens to other people.